What's up, duelists? This is something I've been putting off making for a very long time because I wanted to do it justice. This is a full, well, almost full, very comprehensive market watch list on the climate of the Edison format Yu-Gi-Oh! Secondary market. Now, a few things I got to cover before we get into all of the details. First things first, this is not financial advice. Please do not go out buying up a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh cards thinking you're going to be able to resell them and that you'll be a billionaire, you'll be a self-made drop shipping Yu-Gi-Oh type, fucking buy something on Wish, resell it in the States for, it's not like that. It's not like that. Number two, I'm going to be doing a lot of focusing on why these cards are expensive or why they are less expensive or why they're going up and down. I've broken it down to these main points, which is basically public perception, how the average player base perceives a card or a strategy. Some strategies have negative or positive public perception. For example, maybe Black Wings. That is a deck that some people hate, and that is a deck that some people really like, and it's just very polarizing. So the public perception of something can definitely affect the price. Droughts, which is basically a card that hasn't been reprinted in a while, or a card that has only one printing, something like that. Reprint speculation, maybe Konami has unbanned a card. We'll go over this, of course, in the examples. And people are thinking, oh, they're probably going to reprint it soon because they unbanned it. Meta dominance, so this is like the popularity of the deck being played in the current metagame. The Edison metagame is ever shifting. It is not a one deck format by any means. There are tons of viable decks. There are tons of decks that people have placed in their S tier or their F tier, and everybody's like tier lists widely vary. So basically what the public thinks is the meta is going to be the meta in Edison format. So meta dominance, current meta dominance is something we'll mention. Casual appeal, that's for people who just like want to play Yu-Gi-Oh in Edison format, but like they like jank, LOL Sparkly, which is just max rarity shit. Nostalgia anime cards, that's going to be like iconic cards, etc. Modern speed duel playable, this sometimes comes up where a card is playable in modern or speed duels, so it has that extra extrinsic value. And then just general intrinsic extrinsic value of the cards in general. I said in general twice there. That's cringe. I'm ruining this intro. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's something we'll be going over a lot of with the cards that we cover here. And then the third thing I want to talk about is that I'm going to be transparent about all this stuff. I feel like it's really hard to find a market watch video that doesn't have some sort of like agenda or some sort of bias. I'm not really buying up a lot of cards in bulk. If I ever buy anything, it's going to be like a playset for myself. That being said, even I stand to gain if a card goes up or down in value, and I also know what I'm going to talk about in these videos before I upload them. So I'm going to be fully transparent with you guys about how much of a card I own, if I'm going to be buying that card, or if I have already bought that card prior to the video. I'm going to be fully honest with you guys about that kind of stuff, because I feel like that sort of transparency can at least let you factor in the person who's speaking to you, their bias on the situation. I really don't like fucking with people's bag. So like, I don't want to like, for example, buy out a card and then be like, oh my God, this card's insane. And then everyone goes and buys them up for like $8 when it's like a 50-cent card, that kind of thing. I don't really like doing that. I don't like scamming people. I don't like fucking with people's bags. So I'm going to be as honest as I can about this type of stuff. This is the stuff I take pretty seriously because this is money's people's livelihood, right? So yeah, I definitely want to take this pretty seriously. All right, so the first things first that I want to get into is the Edison format Fortune 500. These are basically like your big mainstay cards. They probably won't go down too much in value unless something crazy happens, and they probably won't skyrocket too much in value unless something crazy happens. Before we get into it, I think some of the big things that could make the Fortune 500 expand a band, you know what I'm saying, is an Edison YCS or Edison regional circuits, that type of thing. Official Konami support on a large scale could make these cards go up a lot, and that's the only thing that's really affecting, I think, these cards moving up at an insane amount. I don't think there's anything that's going to make these cards shoot up much more than they already have given the initial Edison boom outside of like a big Edison format thing. That being said, on the opposite side of things, if like, for example, the US economy crashes or like some sort of world economy crashes, then we'll probably see all these cards tank. I think they are directly tied to like how well people's personal finances are doing. People sometimes buy these to like hedge against inflation or hedge against certain things. everybody buys cards for different reasons. Sometimes people buy them just because they like the art, because lol sparkly. That's one of the things we mentioned in the intro, of course, lol sparkly. But yeah, let's get into the cards. These are the cards that I think are like the Edison Fortune 500. If you buy these cards, they're pretty much always going to hold their value. First card is the obvious one, Ultimate Rare Caius the Shadow Monarch. This card is the premium rarity for Caius the Shadow Monarch. We could get another rarity for this card. We could get a collector's rare. I could see that happening. We could get something like a secret rare or something that looks really cool. But I don't see any new printing of this card affecting this Turbo Pack Ultimate Rare. Unless we literally got another like OTS Ultimate Rare of this card, I don't see it. I don't see it going anywhere in price. That being said, I think this card will slowly appreciate over time. This is one of the most played cards in Edison format. It's one of the most played monsters. You'll notice one thing about the Fortune 500 is that almost all of them, I think actually all of them that I have in this video, are monster cards. I think monster cards have that sort of like not only casual appeal, but like iconic collector's appeal as well, which is something I forgot to mention in the beginning, that will drive them to be sort of mainstays. And Caius is like, someone can collect all the monarchs, right? Like RJ does it. You know what I mean? A lot of people do that. They collect like all of a certain archetype or whatever. And it's a cool thing to have in a binder. So it's not as cool to have like, I don't know, a champion pack super rare bottomless trap hole or something. But like having an ultimate rare Caius the Shadow Monarch, it looks cool in a collection. So even people who don't have Edison cards can definitely see the appeal in a card like this. Right now it's sitting somewhere between $300 and $500 US for a near mint copy. They're kind of incredibly hard to come by. If you can get a good deal on them, I'd say like around $250 US is probably a good deal for one. I would say that like that's a good buying price. If I saw one for that price, I would buy it. That's what I'm kind of saying about this card. If you find one that's kind of messed up, I'm not sure if it'd be worth it for $250, but it's all up to you, you know. Someone's listed a heavily played for $250. See, yeah, I'd take a near mint one for $250 in person. TCG Player, you do have to factor in the people selling on TCG Player. They are marking it up slightly because they have to pay a cut to TCG Player. So they're either going to sell it at a loss or they're marking it up. So that's pretty much it. Next card I want to talk about is the Ultimate Rare Judgment Dragon. Very similar, but this card is a little bit more narrow. I actually think this card will not appreciate much more than it already has. It's like kind of in the $400 to $500 range. The only thing that's kind of separating Judgment Dragon from Caius the Shadow Monarch to me is that there's a very like corner case possibility chance that Lightsworn gets an opportunity to use this card in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Now I don't think that that's very likely. There are a billion other cards that kind of are functionally the same as Judgment Dragon but better, but there might be a niche corner case scenario where Judgment Dragon just is that dude in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! That could potentially make the Ultimate Rare go up a little bit. I don't know how much, but it could definitely go up a little bit. I could see this card sitting around the same price as the Ultimate Rare Caius because it does have a little bit more collector's appeal, but Judgment Dragon was good in a wide variety of formats, not just in Edison format. But at the same time, it's only played in one deck, and this deck, besides the Christia version, underperforms historically in Edison format. Like Lightsworn is not one of those decks that's like has the same consistency, but maybe it just doesn't have the same representation, or maybe people don't really like to play it as much. I don't really know, but it's just not as popular a card as Caius right now, currently, mathematically speaking. So yeah. Speaking of which, I'm gonna jump back to Caius real quick. I own 0 of these. I also own 0 of the Ultimate Rare Judgment Dragons. I'm trying to keep that a trend where I say how many of them I own and how many of them I plan on buying. I also plan on buying 0 Caius and I plan on buying 0 Judgment Dragon. But if you want to put your money into some high-end cards, these are some cards you could basically not do too poorly investing in. Dark Arm Dragon, Secret Rare First Edition is the next one I want to talk about. This card I could actually see appreciating. I think for some reason First Edition cards are incredibly hard to come by. It's even harder to find like a nice First Edition card than it is to find like some of the Turbo Pack Ultimate Rares. So I think the Secret Rare First Edition Dark Arm Dragon, while right now there are currently 4 listings, 5, 6, well, these guys have 3 each. So I'd say like, what is that, like 10 listings for around $400. I think that's a little bit undervalued. I think Dark Arm Dragon goes in most of the best decks in the format. So it's going to be played by like, you know, Zombies, Blackwings, whatever. Best decks maybe is the wrong word. I'll say it's in a lot of the most popular decks in the format. That's a better choice. So a lot of people will want this card to swag out their max rarity decks. This is, in my opinion, the nicest rarity of it. You can also get the ultimate rare. I think the ultimate rare is the reason why the secret first is still this low. I think the reason the secret first is not like as high as another secret first, which we're going to get into next, which is Archlord Christia, is because you have the option to get the ultimate rare as well. There are two kind of quote unquote equally high rare versions. The secret first is a little bit more rare if I remember correctly, but yeah, I think this card could be a lot more if it didn't have that competing high end rarity. Again, I expect to see this card sitting between the like 400 to 500 range as well because of that competing rarity card. I own one of these, so yeah, I do own one. I am not looking to purchase any more of them, and I'm not looking to offload mine anytime soon. So that's my personal collection with regards to this card. Okay, next card, Archlord Christia, Secret Rare First Edition. This card is incredibly jacked right now in prices, but it's kind of... I don't want to say it's just hype because it's definitely not. I think Archlord Christia is the best out of like all the boss monsters. Lightsworn decks, the successful ones, are now playing 3 copies of this. So they're playing even more than they're playing JD, which is a card that, similar to Dark Arm Dragon, has a secret first and an ultimate rare. Christia doesn't have that ultimate rare. So you can see what not having that ultimate rare does to these types of cards. Only having one high-end printing, you can see it's being sold for about $700. People are buying like, let's see, the last Near Mint one was sold. Near Mint First Edition was sold for, that was a foreign one. Hold up. It's been a while. It's been a while since a Near Mint First Edition one has been sold. I recently sold my only copy of this card. I sold it because I think that this is a card that could receive a reprint. It has modern playability. It has some implications. There are decks that can tutor this and play it on the first turn of the game. There are ways to abuse this card in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! It's not the best card because it does a lock off your side as well. Normally, you'd rather be locking just your opponent, not yourself. But it does have modern application, so I could see it being reprinted. It also does have some really nice rarities in the OCG, which means that we could potentially get some of those rarities as well. I think this is a card that... I don't know. I don't think it can hold the like ridiculous price tag, but maybe $700 is like, I'd say that's a ceiling for the card, but I could be wrong. We could see it go higher than 700. We could see it be in the ballpark of like 1,000 if it never gets a reprint ever. Again, it's a 3 of, in my opinion, the best deck of the format, or at least one of the most powerful decks of the format. It doesn't matter if that's like necessarily your opinion or not. It's a popular deck. Lightsworn Christia and the regular Fairy Christia decks are fairly popular in paper. They're more popular in paper than they are online, which is interesting. That's something that I've also noticed. But yeah, I think this is definitely one of those cards, one of those Fortune 500 cards where if you buy it, it probably won't ever go below $500. It probably won't ever drop below like where Dark Arm Dragon is now. I don't think it ever will. It doesn't necessarily have the iconicism as Dark Arm Dragon, but it has a lot more other appeal to it, especially because there's only one printing of it right now. One thing I forgot to mention about the Fortune 500 cards in general is that these kind of represent a ceiling for the format. When you're buying into the format and you're thinking, okay, this card's going to go to the moon, this card's going to skyrocket, I'm going to make $1 billion off this card. This is kind of the ceiling. If you're looking at these cards, wherever they're set is like the ceiling of what another card could hit. So we'll get into some cards later in this that are not as expensive as these cards. If you're buying into those cards thinking like, oh, this could be the most expensive card in the format, just understand that like this is about how much people are willing to reasonably pay. And that makes sense given where the format is, like in terms of like competitive nature. Like it's got big local tournaments. It's got big side events at like YCSs and stuff and nationals. And it's got a lot of online popularity as well. But right now there's currently no regional or YCS like main event support. And that's what it would take to make these cards go up, I think. I think this is kind of the ceiling for how much a card can cost. Okay, next card I want to talk about is Stardust Dragon. This is definitely the upper end of that ceiling. Ghost Rare First Edition Stardust Dragons. You can see here they're being listed for about $3,000 for a first edition near mint. Whether or not people are actually buying them at that price is questionable. It looks like someone bought a light played first edition for $1,700. So that's like pretty recent. Moderate played first edition for $725. This is the highest end of the high end. This card has a lot of the stuff we talked about in the intro. It has intrinsic and extrinsic value. It's played in every deck. It has collector's appeal, which is kind of like the intrinsic value. It is modern playable to an extent. It has anime, like everything. It's a little sparkly. It has casual appeal. It has meta dominance. Reprint spec is irrelevant because this is the top of the top rarity. There will be a drought of it, or there is a drought of it, because this is like a very rare card. And then the public perception on Stardust Dragon, I don't know a single person who's like, yeah, I cut Stardust Dragon. Like, that just doesn't happen in the format. So it hits every single one of these. And as you can see, the price reflects that. That's kind of like the ceiling of like what you should be looking at paying for this format if you want to max rarity your deck. I own 0 of these. I don't intend on ever owning a Ghost Rare First Edition Stardust Dragon. I think spending $3,000 on a single card is a little bit of, well, for me personally, I think it is a little bit of a misuse of my finances. But, you know, some people have more expendable income. Some people, you know, are more into the collecting side of things, or they have like, they can get more value out of owning something like this. And so that's tight. That's dope. And I can't speak for that, but yeah, that's where I'm at on this card. I don't see it going lower ever. I think this is one of those cards that will just be fucking rare as shit forever. We are getting a nice, really cool 25th anniversary print of it soon, which I'm pretty happy about because I've always wanted a nice Stardust and I've never owned one. So having a nice looking 25th anniversary print will be pretty cool for me. But yeah, I don't own a Ghost Stardust and I don't plan on getting one, but it is a pretty safe investment. Okay, next card. Next card is Super Nimble Mega Hamster. This is a Fortune 500 card that doesn't cost $1 million. This card has been reprinted, actually. It was reprinted as a secret rare, and it's still kind of shooting up. If you look at near mint, and this is just near mint unlimited, they're going for about $15, and these things were selling like hotcakes. At the YCSs that I've been to, vendors were buying this for 95%. That's how quickly they were turning this card over. They just wanted them for that quick 5% turnover. This is like the card to own in Edison format. I definitely expect to see this card. Like, if you look at the last year of this card, you know, it was kind of flat during the, whatever the fuck year this is. But then this happened. Edison, boom. YCSs started happening. Paper events started happening. And the card, even though it's been reprinted, people want the super rare. They want the original printing. It's one of the best flip effect monsters in the format. The decks that play it usually play 2 to 3. It's a good card. It's just a solid card. It's a mainstay card. There are very few near mint copies even left on TCG Player. And I could see this card being easily a very expensive card. I could see this card being obnoxiously expensive. Like, the fact that this card is cheaper than Totem Dragon was a few months ago. Like, Totem Dragon was going for like $60 for a near mint first edition. This card being cheaper than that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Although, I'm not sure if Crimson Crisis was a small set and Ancient Prophecy wasn't. I don't really know. Or Absolute Power Force wasn't. I'm not really sure. All I know is that this is an Edison mainstay, and I expect to see this card go up from here. Okay, the next card, I own 0 of these, by the way. Just throwing that out there. The next card I want to talk about is Raikou Lightsworn Hunter. Similar thing, but a slower climb. You'll see it here. It's just been kind of on a steady rise for the super rare version. It did drop a little bit November, December, and then since January, well, I'm looking at the first edition price. If you look at the unlimited price, it's just been kind of like slowly, steadily rising since last October. So yeah, this is one of those cards. It's the highest rarity of Raikou Lightsworn Hunter that doesn't look like shit. If they come out with a collector's rare one, that could hinder the price of this card. But if you look at the near mint first edition, they're going for about like $30 to $35 each. This is another card that probably should be worth more. The super rare first editions. It's just an all-star in the format. It's played in Quick Draw, Value Turbo. A lot of other decks play this card. A lot of decks side this card. Frog sides this card. A lot of decks play this card. It's just a mainstay in the format. It's a good generic removal spell. It's an iconic monster. It's a very defining part of the format. So yeah, I could see this card being worth a lot more. I couldn't see it being worth a lot less, and we'll get into that later when we talk about reprints. Okay, next card I want to get into. I own 3 of these, by the way. Super rare first edition. I own 3 of them, so I do stand to gain something if this card goes up. Okay, next card, Ultimate Rare Debris Dragon. This is one of the cards that I talked about in previous videos at being incredibly undervalued. As you can see, after mentioning it in that previous video, it was bought the fuck out. So yeah, it went up almost double in price since I mentioned it in that video. This is still a card that I think has room to grow, but it'll probably stabilize right around $100 to $130 each. I think this card has about the same ceiling potential as Tragodia. Tragodia is a one-of in this format, but it's played in a lot more decks. Tragodia currently goes for like $120 to $140 for US dollars, by the way, for an ultimate unlimited or not unlimited, obviously it's a turbo pack card, but yeah, this is a similar thing. I feel like this card could rest at like $100 to $150. It's played as a more of or 3 of or whatever, 2 to 3 of in the decks that it's good in, but it's also played in less decks than Tragodia. So I think it's pretty comparable. They're like similar amount of printing, similar high rarity of that card. They go in similar strategies usually, so I'd compare those two. This card has a little bit more room to grow, but just wanted to show that my prediction in one of the last ones was correct, that this card had a lot of room to go up. I own 0 of these. The next card I want to talk about is Drill Warrior Ultimate Rare. This is another Edison Fortune 500 card. As long as Edison is around, people will play Quick Draw Dandy. It is the deck that won the Shonen in the past. It is the deck that continues to overperform despite underrepresentation. It's a solid deck. It's a great deck for anyone getting into the format. It's a great deck for anyone who loves those like mix a bunch of cool cards together decks. You can tech a lot of different stuff in it. You can go pretty crazy with the deck. So it has a lot of appeal, not only to the competitive people, but to the casual people as well. The people who just want to play this around their kitchen table with their friends, whatnot, etc. There's not too much nostalgia from it, but I think it does have some anime appeal. It's not really modern or speed duel playable, obviously, but it has a lot of intrinsic value because people have a lot of like nostalgic memories from this card. The near mint first edition ones are going for about $57. Now, the last time I covered them, they were going for about $45. I thought that was criminally low, so I bought a couple myself the last time I covered this card. So I own 2 of these. I do think that $57 is still a little bit low for Ultimate First Drill Warrior, but that being said, in terms of like meta, how much this card is seeing play right now, I think that's why it's so cheap. I think not a lot of people are bringing Quick Draw to tournaments. Not a lot of people are playing Quick Draw decks. So meta dominance is where this card is kind of lacking, and that kind of explains the price. That kind of explains the why of why this card is probably a little bit lower than you would think. I do think $57 is a little bit low. I could see this card resting around $80. I could see that being a plateau price for this card, but Quick Draw would have to pick up in some popularity for it to really hit there anytime soon. It's a safe buy, I think, at $57. I think if you can get it for lower than that, then it's an easy pickup, something that'll only go up with time. But if, if it's, more than that, I don't see it going up that much unless someone really breaks the Quick Draw strategy, which is totally possible. That could happen. Next card I want to talk about is Deep Sea Diva. This is a format all-star. This card is played in Zombies, Diva Hero, all that kind of stuff. And weirdly enough, this card has seen kind of a weird, chaotic sort of market price thing on TCG Player. And this is kind of a case where you have to look at, like, obviously when it was up like that, that was during Sprite. So that was modern playability. When this card was playable in modern, the max rarity, which is the Turbo Pack Super Rare, was very high. And I think that's right there around October 17th to the 23rd. That's right around Power of the Elements, the modern playability. That stopped happening, and it's kind of gone back down. Now you see this baby bump, it's coming back up. And if you'll notice, actually the near mint unlimited, or obviously unlimited, they're Turbo Pack cards, but the near mint copies of the card, I did not want to buy this. I did not want to click on that at all. God damn it, dude, this is already going to be a long ass video. I can already tell. Please. You can see the near mint copies are going for about 170, which is more than what this little graph is showing. Like significantly more. And people are actually buying them. You can see here, 6/4, June 4th, that's yesterday. Someone bought 2 copies for $171 each. So I think this market graph here is a little bit underrepresentative of how much value this card has. In terms of meta dominance, it's absolutely massive right now in Edison format. Will that continue to be the case? I don't know. It's played in the Hero Beat decks as of right now. It's played in the Bubbleman deck that I recently did a video on. My videos definitely have a large impact on the market. We'll get into that when we get to the buyout section. And then it's also played in Diva Hero, Diva Zombies, lots of like various decks, Diva Frogs play it. It's just one of those cards that sees a lot of play because it's very strong. It's just a really good effect in Edison format. So I could definitely see this card being a $170 card. Could I see it being much more than that? I don't know. Also, I could see this card getting a collector's rare reprint because it's one of those cards that has modern playability. It has modern viability. So I could see this card getting a reprint. Whereas some cards like Raikou, like, yeah, it could get a collector's rare reprint, and that would make Edison players very happy. But this card has absolutely zero modern playability. And then on top of that, this card has a different errata, which some people might not like if they come out with a collector's rare that has the new errata. That'd be, it kind of confuses new players. Or not new players, but kind of confuses Edison players. Edison players don't like playing with the new text, basically. So even if there is a reprint of this card, it's not only less likely because it's not modern playable, but at the same time, it might not have that same sort of impact on the market. Whereas, like, if a collector's rare of Deep Sea Diva is printed, nobody's fucking buying this super rare. The super rare doesn't look that good. It doesn't have the lol sparkly appeal. Maybe I'm crazy for saying that, but I don't think it looks that good. It doesn't have the classic old border. It's the newer borders from after, I believe, Photon Chocolate. I don't remember exactly which set it is where the new borders are implemented, but it doesn't have that classic Yu-Gi-Oh border. It's a different print, basically. So it doesn't look that clean, doesn't look that good. The foiling, in my opinion, is a little bit lackluster. It's not like an ultimate. It's not like an ultra even. It's not even a secret. It's a super rare. So I feel like if a collector's rare came out, like nobody's paying 170 for a super if a collector's rare comes out. That's something that should be kept in mind. So with regards to reprint speculation, if you're looking to buy these, maybe think about it a little bit. It could potentially happen. I own 0 of these. Okay, the next card I want to talk about is Bryonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and this is the last card in today's Fortune 500 coverage. Bryonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier dual terminal. This is the max rarity. Now this card was pretty undervalued. I think earlier in the year it was going for like 70, which I think is very low because this card goes in just about every extra deck that isn't a specific extra deck. Like Quick Draw, for example, doesn't play this card, but decks that can make generic synchros, which is almost all of them, Bryonic goes in all of the extra decks. And then on top of that, it's like the best synchro in the format. So yeah, this is like one of the mainstay cards in the format. You get it with the original text, which people love. You get the dual terminal ultra rare, which is just premium. It looks fantastic. And right now they're going for about $140, which is more where I expect this card to sit. That's roughly where I expect this card to sit. I don't think that this card is worth like $70. I think it's worth more than that. But I don't think this card is worth much more than $140. I don't own any copies of this, so I don't stand to gain anything if it goes up. I actually stand to lose something if I inevitably want to buy one of these if it does go up. So maybe I'm saying this because I don't want it to go up because I eventually want to buy one. Maybe I don't. I'm not really sure. I haven't really thought about it. But yeah, that's just how it goes. Now keep in mind, Bryonic Dragon of the Ice Barrier has a functional reprint that looks very similar to this in the new Hidden Arsenal set. So it's not a new Hidden Arsenal. Is it new? It's like Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 or something. Pardon me, I gotta mute my mic to cough. Okay, we're back. Yeah, it's a functional reprint, which is the same exact foiling, same exact rarity. So I think that that might also deter people from spending too much on this specific rarity. But I think at around 130, 120, it's a decent buy, and it won't ever really go down. It just probably won't ever skyrocket the same way it did from when it was like, I think a year ago it was like pretty low. Yeah, it was down at like 87 in like October. Wow, that's weird. I don't remember it being this high back then. But yeah, it dropped a little bit at some point. I don't fucking know. I don't keep track of this shit. There's too much. All right, next segment, buyouts. These are cards that I have oftentimes directly influenced the buyouts of. We're going to get into the immediate repercussions of this, my feelings on buyouts. Are buyouts cool, based, or are they cringe? I don't know. We'll get into that. First things first, we got to talk about yesterday's video, which is the Gemini video. As you can see here, this is Reinforced Truth, the rare version of Reinforced Truth, which is a card that was played as a 3 of in that Gemini deck. That video went up less than 24 hours ago. Look at this. This is how many have sold. All of these in less than 24 hours. That is a fuck ton. Now keep in mind, they are less than $1. So, okay, whatever. And that deck was legit. It was a tournament winning deck. So this is something that definitely can drive this sort of thing to happen. But this is actually a trend. Every time I upload a video where there's like a unique card or something like that, usually shortly after the upload is gone on TCG Player. We're going to get into a lot more cards like this. This is just the most recent version of that. How expensive do I expect this card to be? I expect the rare version or the highest rarity version of this to be like $2. I expect it to maybe double in price from $1. That's pretty much it. For a rare first edition, probably like $2. I own 3 copies of these. I did purchase them before I uploaded the video because I fucking knew this would happen. Because I fucking knew everyone would buy them up and then I wouldn't be able to get them. So I bought 3 copies before I uploaded the video. Full transparency, I have something to gain if it goes to $2. I have $3 to gain because I bought them for $1 each. Wow, okay. The next card I want to talk about is Blazewing Butterfly. Same exact thing. Same exact thing yesterday. The Ultimate Rare has seen... Well, I'm going to refresh this just to make sure we have the most up-to-date. I opened all these tabs a little while ago just to cover this. Okay, view full sales history. So this is since yesterday. You can see yesterday, oh my god, look how many of these were purchased yesterday all the way until today. Look at all this. Blazewing Butterfly Ultimate Rare. This card has been bought out to a degree. I own 3 copies of these, first edition copies of these. I've owned them for a very long time. It is a card that I have lull sparkly appeal for, and I think that that's a big appeal to this card is lull sparkly. It is a fucking fantastic looking card. It is one of the coolest looking Yu-Gi-Oh cards ever printed. This picture doesn't even do it a fraction of justice. So it has lull sparkly appeal. It has maybe not meta dominance, but it has meta relevance. Like that deck did just win a tournament, so potentially we could see more and more of it. Public perception of that deck is huge right now. It is based. Everybody loves Geminis. Gemini Giga Chad. That's literally what everyone is saying. And that's true. The deck is based. It's creative, it's awesome, it's interactive, it's fun to play, it's cool to watch, it's exciting. It's a new deck that had a lot of casual appeal back in the day. It hits casual appeal. It probably won't be reprinted anytime soon. There is a drought of it. Ultimate Rarity is the max rarity, and it's an old card. It's nostalgic for a lot of people. A lot of people really liked the Gemini releases in Yu-Gi-Oh! They're fan favorites. It misses out on Modern Speed Duel Playable, but it hits almost every single one of these. So even though this buyout is happening, I think this buyout is happening for a good reason. I don't think it's just one dickhead buying something out because he has a fucking trust fund and he wants to pad it. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's that. I think it's genuine interest in this card and in the strategy, and I'm excited to see where this card goes from here. I think that obviously you can't really go buy them because there's no more on TCG Player, so good luck. But if you can find them, you know, from like your friends or your locals or people who used to play back in the day who just have them lying around, we could see this card being very expensive, and I'd be happy about that because I own 3. So that's pretty much it. We could also see this deck never do anything ever again, in which case it would just hold like basically I'd think a $10 price tag, because you know the fact that the deck did win one tournament ever means it's enough for people to like respect it to a degree and not want to offload them for less than $10. Okay, next thing I want to talk about, just touch on, is the super rare version of this card, which I also think looks amazing. So if you were looking to build this deck and you want to have a really cool print of this card, I think the super rare also looks fantastic. It's one of the coolest artworks in Yu-Gi-Oh! I've always had a big aesthetic fascination with like the cards that have like these huge like bursting flames. They've always looked really cool to me. Tremendous Fire was one of my favorite cards when I was a kid, and then now Blazewing Butterfly, and one of my favorite cards in a different game, Magic the Gathering, is Grove of the Burn Willows. So this type of like artwork, this type of art direction is very beautiful to me personally, and I think the super rare actually looks incredible. I'm looking at picking up a set of this super rare maybe after this video. They're going for around 25, 30 cents, 30, 50 cents, which is incredibly cheap for a card that could potentially be worth like $1 or $2. So I'm definitely going to be picking up a set of this. I have something to gain if they go up a couple cents here or there, but if they don't go up, I'm happy owning a set of a very beautiful looking card that is played in a very base strategy. So while buyouts are happening of the ultimate rare, maybe look to the super rare. I think the super rare does look pretty sick. So definitely an alternative. You're not just screwed if you want to play the Gemini deck and have a really beautiful looking deck. Next card I want to talk about in buyouts is Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis. Now this card obviously topped RBET1, and that's where you see this first spike here. And then it kind of did nothing after that for an entire year. And for an entire year it's done nothing. So I don't know. Maybe don't buy something out on hype, because it just kind of went back down, you know? Just kind of went back down. Now you see it's climbing back up because it hasn't gotten a reprint, and people are experimenting with the Phoenixian Cluster Amaryllis deck in the Discords. But I don't know if that's necessarily because it's climbing back up because people have found something broken that's not really being talked about, or because it topped the tournament in Germany. I guess I should say it did top the biggest paper tournament in Germany as well. So it has 2 tops. And I think that that's where this second like little bump comes in. If I remember correctly, that tournament happened. Oh my gosh. I'm going to double check when that tournament happened so I can get accurate data for you guys again. Hold up. Give me 1 second. I'm just pulling it up on my phone. I go to the live. I think I streamed it, if I remember correctly. Yeah. So it was streamed 1 month ago. No, that wasn't really it. Maybe it was. When the fuck was that? Hold on, I'm gonna click on it. Doesn't say the date, does it? April 22nd. Oh, yeah. So right around here, April 22nd is when it spikes up again. That's when it topped the tournament in Germany. So as you can see, every time this deck tops, it kind of like goes back up in popularity. People are like, oh, maybe I'll build that deck. It looks kind of cool. And then it kind of loses popularity, and people are like, I'm going to sell these because I never play with them kind of thing. That being said, you can't really get near mint copies, and there's only 1 printing of it. So if you look back at this, there's a drought. There's a drought. And if you hold them, you can exploit a drought. But all it takes for a drought to like not be exploitable is 1 reprint. Usually. We'll get into that in a second. Meta dominance, not very meta dominant. Casual appeal, it does have casual appeal. I think Phoenixian Burn is a very casual appeal deck. A little sparkly, it is a foil card. Doesn't really have a lot of nostalgia or anime stuff. And it's not modern or speed duel playable because it's banned. So, yeah, public perception of the deck is good, though. People really do like the Phoenixian Burn deck. They think it's based, so at least that's what I tend to get. Like, when I review the comment sections on videos, when I review, like, what people are saying in the Discord, public perception of certain decks is like, oh, this deck is cringe, and this deck is based. And oftentimes, you'd be surprised, public perception of a deck defines more how much that deck is played than anything else, and it defines more how much cards cost than anything else. It's, like, usually the number one like factor, which is kind of funny if you think about it, because like if people hate a deck like and it's still the best deck, the cards will be oftentimes horribly undervalued because people just hate the deck and they don't want to like collect the cards or whatever. But because people like Phoenixian Burn deck, it makes sense that it's like slowly climbing back until this card gets reprinted. I expect it to continue to slowly climb. I own 3 copies of them. I own 2 first edition and 1 unlimited. However, I don't really stand to gain anything from them because that's like my personal playset, and I don't think I'm ever going to sell it because, again, the deck is based, and I want to be able to play it at any given moment. Next card I want to talk about with regards to buyouts was Turbo Cannon. This card was bought out after Raonic won with his legendary Frog Burn deck. This deck was this card was roughly around, I don't even know. It was less than $1, and now it's like 10 for near mint, I think. It's like 8. It's like 8 for near mint, which is a huge buff. If you bought all of the ones for $1, if you went for the buyout right at the moment that it topped, then yeah, you kind of crushed it. You nailed it. You landed it. But anything before then, I don't know. But this is kind of cool because this is a long-term buyout. We can kind of look back to when this sort of thing happened. You can see that this card has sold a fucking shit ton since then as well, even at inflated prices. Which is saying something. It's saying something. The deck hasn't really done anything since then. I know it's won some side events, some like smaller events here and there, some local tops, but it hasn't really like gotten that premier level top again since that first time. But I do think the deck is legit. I think the Frog Burn deck is legit, and I think that these sales kind of represent that the people who purchase them also think that, more or less. I think 3-6 was that the day of the RBET? I don't remember the day of the RBET, but like this is how many have sold since this card had that top, which is pretty crazy. This is how much market influence one RBET top can have. Something to keep in mind. I don't know if this card is worth $10. I'm gonna be honest. I wouldn't buy this card for $10. I'd just play a different deck. That's what I would do. But I own 0 of them, so that's just me. Nothing really draws me. Like, I would like to play the Frog Burn deck. I think it's cool. I've never done a video with it even. It's something that I may cover in the future if enough people are interested. Let me know in the comments if you're interested. But I don't know. I just don't see like that much of a difference between playing that and just like a regular Frog deck that I like wouldn't need to spend $40 on a set of Turbo Cannons for. So I don't know. Next card, Knight of the Red Lotus. I did 1 video with this card. This card won, I think, like 3 side events at YCS LA, and the sales of it kind of like went up, I think, if I remember correctly. I don't remember exactly when that was. When was YCSLA? I think it was this day here. I think the video went up on the 7th of April, because that's when all the sales are. Yeah, I think it was 7th of April. Everyone bought up the Knight of the Red Lotus. Since then, the card has done nothing. I think this card is cool, and it has a very powerful effect, but I think finding a home for it will be very difficult in the future. I don't expect to see this card ever go up from where it is right now. I expect it to be kind of just like $5 or whatever, unless it's reprinted, in which case it'll be worth nothing. So keep that in mind. This card has absolutely zero meta dominance. It has negative meta dominance. Like, winning a couple side events is hype and everything, but like at the same time, like, this deck, it's like a worse version of a deck that already exists. Like, it won mainly because of the skeleton of the deck, not necessarily because of Knight of the Red Lotus. It does have casual appeal, but that's about it, really. The public perception of this deck is that it's like kind of cursed, which is not a good place to be in. Cursed decks usually don't have that Giga Chad based deck kind of vibe. I know that that's like hard to really put into words, but yeah, I don't know. Okay, next card that was bought out was Sphere of Chaos. This was one of the first cards that we saw get bought out as a result of the E3 channel. And this was back when I think James and I made a video with Roundhook, and the frog deck he was playing had like Sphere of Chaos in it, and it was like 50 cards, and it was like some cursed shit. And Roundhook was like, yeah, Sphere of Chaos is a secret rare, and it only has one printing, and it's busted. And everyone went and bought this card, and I don't understand why. It's like, it's a 1600 vanilla that it takes a tribute. Like, it's not good. I think it is very inflated. I don't know. I don't understand why this card is going for like $30. Like, why is this card as expensive as a super first Raikou, which is like a 3 of in a ton of different decks? I don't get it. Sphere believers, sphere pill me, okay? I don't get it. Why is this card so expensive? It's never really topped anything. It's never really done anything of merit. I don't know if it has the capability of doing that, because when you draw it, it's like a giga brick. I don't know. Is this just like one of those cases of like Keegan doesn't understand this, or is this just like another case of like lull sparkly or casual appeal, or is there some modern application that I'm not seeing here? I don't understand. I don't understand this. I think that this is inflated. I think everyone who has Sphere of Chaos is just diamond handsing right now because this card is not good. So, something I'm curious about. Damn, it's so weird. You're seeing shit like the unlimited ones being priced higher than the first edition. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, next card. Next card that was bought out, and last card that was bought out, was Telekinetic Powerwell. This card was very, very cheap, I believe. Yeah, a year ago. It was like 25 cents. And then Welly Dad, Control Alt Defeat, broke the format with Welly Dad. And that video also performed like fucking crazy. It just like randomly like hit the algorithm so hard. It hit the algorithm running. It's like one of my best performing videos. And a lot of people, it has a ton of casual appeal. Not just casual appeal, but like meta appeal as well. I think the deck is very strong. Naturally, it's only had a couple of like big tournament tops since its reveal. But that's partially due to like, I think representation. It's underrepresented compared to some of the other decks. I think if it was more represented, it would do a lot better. This card, Telekinetic Powerwell, I think it is mostly a result of Droughts. I think people are kind of nervous, and you can see it's like not holding this like weird high price because, first off, it hasn't hit the top 8 like super hard. Like, it hasn't won a major tournament. I think if this card wins a major tournament, you're looking at like a $10 common, which is insane because there's only one printing. But then again, if this card gets reprinted, you're looking at a fucking 10-cent card. So it's like you have these two like really high Gamba type things that are whatever. It has good public perception. It does have a drought. It does have some other stuff. It's not sparkly, which is kind of not cool. If they do a reprint of it and it's like super rare, all of a sudden people are like, fuck the common version and play the super rare version. It maybe has some modern appeal, potentially. Who knows? Maybe there's like a psychic deck where it could be like a themed soul charge somewhere in the distant future, but I don't know. This is one of those cards that I think is very good. I think it's very good, and I think it will hold at least the $3 price range. Oh, I should go back and do the cards that I own of this. How much did I save Turbo Cannon? I own 0 Turbo Cannon. I own 3 Knight of the Red Lotus. I don't think this card is worth shit because I think it's bad. I own 0 Sphere of Chaos. And telekinetic power well, I own 6. I own 6 telekinetic power well. I bought 12 on the day I uploaded that video. The video that like kind of blew up. And then I sold 6 of them for like $250 each at the YCS, I think. So I came up a bit. Came up like $10. I came up my lunch, you know, but hey, I don't expect this card to go anywhere unless it wins big. And I don't expect it to go lower unless it gets reprinted. That's pretty much it. And that's it for the buyout section. I'm sure that this video in and of itself will instigate some other buyouts, but maybe we'll cover that in future Market Watch stuff. Let me know your thoughts on buyouts. If you think they're cringe, if you think they're kind of cool, if you think it's like an interesting thing that only exists in secondary unregulated markets. Let me know your thoughts on that kind of stuff. Okay, and the next section that I want to get into is the Droughts. The cards that absolutely need a reprint. They're only this expensive because they haven't been reprinted in like 40 years. There's like one obscure reprinting of it. And I'm sure I'm forgetting cards in this section. I always forget cards in this section. But I've tried to be as comprehensive as possible in this. These are the cards that, if you're buying them, it feels bad, man, to buy them at the price that they're at right now. Because you know you're only buying them at that price because it just hasn't gotten a random reprint somewhere. Okay, the first card in this list, Trap Dust Shoot. Jesus Christ. Oh, dude, this card is so frustrating. Buying one of these is so frustrating. If you want to build like multiple decks, you have to spend like another $15 on a common Trap Dust Shoot. You want to like scream. It is so annoying. The highest rarity is a super rare, which is disrespectful, honestly. This card deserves, honestly, collector's rare. I just want collector's rare everything. But if this card had a collector's rare, it looks so fire. Imagine like the sunlight in the background where it's like textured and his pants are like textured like with the collector's rare. And then like the bottom is like all textured from the collector's. This would look godly as a collector's rare. It will never happen. It will never, ever, 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 ever happen. But imagine it looked godly. It looks so good. If they did like an Edison thing, in general, it just needs a reprint. It might get one in Speed Duel. I could see this card being reprinted in Speed Duel. Because Speed Duel is played with less cards in the hand, Trap Dust Shoot is more often dead than it is live. So it's a safer, I don't want to say it's going to be a fair card in Speed Duel. It's definitely not a fair card in any format that it's legal. But it could be a safer card for them to reprint in Speed Duel. Let's say they reprint it in Speed Duel and then limit 1 it. I could see Trap Dust Shoot being the limit 1 card in Speed Duel. Pardon me, I had to cough again. Okay, next card that absolutely needs a reprint that is super inflated due to a drought is Royal Oppression. This card actually has 6 different printings. But because this card has not been reprinted, due to the fact that it is still on the restricted list, the regular lowest rarity, which is actually the original print, ironically enough, is going for like, I don't know, $12. And you can see the price is plateaued. People don't want to buy this shit at that much money. They don't. And the people who want the Royal Oppressions already own them. So it's kind of like, you know, like, it's not worth it to buy this up because if it does get reprinted, everything tanks. But at the same time, it hinders players entering the format. So not having reprints for these cards is pretty bad. The biggest reason I'm including these, by the way, I own 1 Dust Shoot that is dual terminal and I own 2 that are common. I also own, I think, 2 rare first edition Royal Oppression and 2 champion pack Royal Oppression. I think that's, yeah, those are the 2 that I own. I own the Legacy of Darkness and I own the champion pack ones, yeah. But I think these cards are overvalued at this price. I think all it takes is 1 reprint and all of these just drop. All of these just tank. Next card, Pulling the Rug. Same thing. Absolute Edison staples, all 3 of these. They just need a reprint. And I could see Pulling the Rug getting a reprint in Speed Duels. I could definitely see this card having some Speed Duel application. It'd be really fun to play with in Speed Duels, actually, because there are a lot of cards with on-summon effects, like Breaker the Magical Warrior, that are pretty strong in that format. So it'd be cool to play Pulling the Rug in that format. I've been doing a lot of Speed Duel research in preparation, not only for this video, but for some other videos that I have coming up that are Speed Duel targeted. And I've learned a lot about the metagame, and I think Pulling the Rug would be really, really fun in that. Dust Shoot's not fun in any metagame that it's in, but if we're going to get a reprint, it's going to be in a Speed Duel box. So cross your fingers if you need a Dust Shoot still. Pulling the Rug, Same thing. This is a card that I own 0 of. I would like to own copies of it, but I'm not going to be fucked to buy it for $12 a piece. It's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. It's not a card that's worth $12 because it has nothing on this. It has, well, public perception of the card is, you know, it's like it's a sideboard card, right? It's just a drought. Reprint speculation is high. Meta dominance, it is high. It is played in a lot of different sideboards. Casual appeal, absolutely none. Lol sparkly, it's a rare, so no. Nostalgia anime has no appeal. It's a trap card. Trap cards outside of Mirror Force, Solemn Judgment, usually have the lowest nostalgia appeal out of all of the cards. Modern speed duel playable, obviously not. It's not playable at all in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! And then intrinsic, extrinsic value. The only thing that you could maybe argue is the extrinsic value of having this card means you're going to win more paper tournaments. But that's literally it. Intrinsic value, this card has no like collector's appeal. Pulling the rug, at least in my opinion, has no collector's appeal. It's just a square. Like even the art is cool, you know, it's fine. It's not like bad artwork by any means, but it's not like an iconic artwork or anything. So yeah, this card doesn't hit any of the boxes except for the drought. So the second this card gets reprinted, oh baby, it's to the races. Next card, Gemini Spark. This is related to yesterday's video, but also related to the Resurgence and Hero Beat and Diva Hero Beat and Bubbleman Beat. These 3 decks have been booming in popularity at the last 2 major events, so it's no surprise that Gemini Spark is also going up in popularity in terms of price as well. You can see here the super rare one has kind of just been steadily going up. Until recently, it's kind of like tapered off a little bit. I could see Gemini Spark not getting reprinted for a very long time. The reason being is I think this card would be too powerful in speed duels. I actually think it would be too good of a card in speed duels. It would probably warp the format. I think they have cards like Cosmic Cyclone, which are legal, which keep in mind, Cosmic Cyclone's cost in speed duel is much heavier because you start with 4,000 life points. So it's basically an MST that costs 2,000 life points. That card's like limited or something. Them printing Gemini Spark would just be an insane power creep in the format, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. So I actually don't think this card will be reprinted anytime soon. So I think if you're going to get a set of them, you might as well get them now because it's not going to get better, I don't think. Jeez, there's only 3 listings of the Turbo Pack 6. Wow, that is crazy, dude. There's only 3 listings. That's wild. Yeah, definitely one of those cards that you need it to play a couple of different meta decks. It has a lot of meta relevance, but I don't think it'll get reprinted anytime soon. I don't see Konami having like Gemini Spark in their next like Brothers of Legend set. And at $3.50 for a card that has such an extreme drought, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. I think you just bite it and buy the Stardust Overdrive ones for around $3.50 a piece. All right, next card that has a drought that's like weirdly expensive is Gotham's Emergency Call. If you want to build X-Sabers, you have to spend like slightly more than you would like to on this card. It's like $4 or $5 for a starter deck print, which is pretty crazy. Not going to touch up too much on that. By the way, I own 0 Gemini Sparks. I own 0 Pulling the Rugs. And I think I own 1 Gotham's Emergency Call. I think I own one of the common versions of it. I could see this card going up, actually, because I don't see this card getting reprinted anytime soon. I don't see this card getting reprinted in like speed duels or anything. I could see it going up. But then again, we have to look at the other factors, right? Meta dominance. X-Sabers in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or in Edison format, I played a video recently with them in a tournament, and I swear to God, I draw double Arabellum in every game. And I don't know if that's just me, if I'm just unlucky or whatever, but I think the deck is nearly unplayable. Nearly unplayable. I don't think it's good. I think it's like one of those decks where it's like, I don't think you could reasonably bring it to a tournament and do well unless you have an insane amount of luck. It just loses to Blackwings, it loses to a lot of the common decks right now, it loses to Zombies pretty hard, it loses to Fairies really hard. It just has no good matchup. It loses to Hero Beat pretty hard. Yeah, I think the deck has no meta dominance. And as a result, even though it does have casual appeal, I feel like casuals fucking love X-Sabers for some fucking reason. I don't think the card will see that much more play. So I don't expect it to go up quickly, but I think it'll go up like kind of steadily over time. Maybe a penny stock. Think about it that way. All right, next card, Spined Gilman. Why is this card $1.30? Spending $1.30 on a brick just to brick on it. My fucking face went. Oh, I guess you can get near mint for what, 75 cents? That's not bad. That's not bad. I guess I was mostly thinking about the shatter foil ones, which, as you can see, are about like $5-6 each. It's the highest rarity spine Gilman you can get. Imagine though, imagine we got like a collector's rare, and it warps so slightly so that it's always in your hand. Oh, that'd be so nice. That'd be so nice. If you're a fucking masochist, Jesus Christ, dude, I hate this card. I feel like this card should be worth negative money. I would pay you to take this card away from me so I don't play it in my fucking deck. Jesus Christ, drawing Gilmans. Oh, I'm getting PTSD. Okay, next card, Absolute Zero. Definite Drought of Absolute Zero. The common is going for like $10. That's whack. I think that's whack. I feel like this guy could easily see a reprint. He has modern Yu-Gi-Oh application. I don't know why Konami's sleeping on my boy, Absolute Zero. He looks giga swag in a lot of all of these fucking photos and stuff. There are some awesome versions of it. Like the Korean Prismatic Secret looks incredible. If this guy was a Prismatic Secret, I would lose my goddamn mind. I actually think all of the printings of Absolute Zero look like dog shit. I fucking hate all of them. My favorite is probably the Super Rare, because I own one, and I'm forced to like the one that I own the most. But I actually think they all look really bad. I think the thing I want out of this is I would want like a Secret Rare or a Collector's Rare. I just want Collector's Rare everything. I feel like it'd be swag. I just want this boy to hit the Fortune 500. But as of right now, he's just in Drought Gang. He's just in Drought Gang. He's not in Fortune 500 Gang because he doesn't have a real premium high rarity. I mean, obviously Deep Sea Diva's in there with a super rare, but like, come on, man. Am I really putting a GX manga card in there? Maybe. This might need to make it in. Okay, it might need to make it into the Fortune 500, but again, if this gets a reprint, I don't think the Ultra is holding the $65 price tag. Like, let's say this gets a secret rare reprint. Nobody's paying $65 for an Ultra when you can get a secret. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't see where it's going to get the reprint. That's the biggest issue. With regards to like reprint speculation, I don't know where it's going to get the reprint. It pretty much hits everything else except Lil Sparkly. The rarity, I think, doesn't look that good. But it does hit everything else. It's nostalgic, as meta dominance, as casual appeal. The public perception on Absolute Zero decks is very high. Of course, it has Droughts. It has collector value, intrinsic, extrinsic value. It will win you tournaments. It's in a very high tier deck. So, yeah. No, I think the card is very good, and I think it's deserving of the price. Where the fuck is that shit? I'm already like getting lost here. I should be closing these tabs instead of hopping back and forth. Oh my god. Okay, yes, Absolute Zero. Yeah, it definitely hits all the boxes, but for a common to be $10, maybe not 10, like $9. Gross. Give me a reprint. Give me a reprint. Konami, please. Throw me a fucking bone here. I'm putting the format out there. All I need from you guys is a couple of reprints for your boy. This section should not be as big as it is. We're only about halfway through. Substitute, the next one. This one's plateaued because people are at the point where it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, just reprint the card already. You already unbanned it. Just give me the fucking reprint. It's $25 for Substitute. It's one printing ever. Come on, Konami. You unbanned it like what? Months ago. Months ago, we still don't have a reprint for this boy. We don't have a reprint for that boy. That motherfucking boy. We don't have a reprint for him. We need a reprint for this card. This card, it kind of hits all the boxes. It doesn't have Lil Sparkly. I don't know if it has casual appeal. I don't think casuals really like the Frog deck. I feel like casuals hate the Frog deck. The public perception of Frogs is very polarizing. So that's another reason why, like, maybe Substitute is not as expensive as it could be. Like, let's say the coolest deck, the deck that everyone loved, the Giga Chad, like the Gemini deck, played 3 Substitute and there was only one print. It'd be like $100 card. But because a lot of people are like, fuck frogs, man, fuck dupe frog, fuck that shit, I don't like playing against that, I want to be able to attack. People hate that shit. And so I think as a result, when people look at the price tag and they're like, oh, I have to spend $25 on a Substitute, I'll just not play that deck. So that's kind of what's happening. I think it's kind of deterring people from like picking up the deck, rather than like it actually being worth this much money, which maybe it is. I don't know. Historically, I rank Frogs like a little bit below the other better decks in the format because I think it's like a very linear deck. But I don't know. Maybe someone thinks it's busted. Maybe someone thinks that Substitute is worth $25. I don't fucking know. Next card. Oh, by the way, I own 0 Substitutes. I offloaded these bitches. Fuck that. fuck that. It's never going to be better time to sell these than now. If you have substitutes, sell them now because they came off the ban list. They're getting a reprint eventually. It's happening. It's Jover for you. If you're a substitute Diamond Hands fan, you're huffing copium. It doesn't make any sense to hold this card because they unbanned it. They unbanned it so they could reprint it for you. That's literally why they did it. Absolute Zero, I own one super rare. I think that's it. Spine Gilmans. Oh, yeah. I own too many of these. Fuck Spine Gilman. I do own 2 of the Shatter Foils. Recent pickup. I picked them up because I'm building a deck with Gilmans. And I'm going to hate myself for it, but I'm doing it. Okay, yes. Substitute. I sold this shit. I sold them for like, I think, $16 each at the YCS. And I was just like, yeah, get this shit out of my binder, man. Like, yeah, and people were buying them. They are moving. It's just, you kind of have to like go a little bit under the $25 whatever market, whatever. Next card I want to talk about is Totem Dragon. This is an interesting card because it did get a reprint. And it did kind of regulate the super rare pricing a little bit. But one thing that I find really interesting is that the super rare printing for near mint, if we go to near mint, right, is still around $20 for near mint unlimited. That's crazy. And it was reprinted. And it's a card that's played in one deck. So it kind of leads me to believe that, like, maybe there's something to there being only one foil printing, or people really prefer the foil printing. I thought for sure when the common card hit, this card would drop to about $10 or less, even potentially like $8, roughly around there. But the fact that it's still being like sold for around $20 is kind of crazy, and people are buying it. Like, someone bought one for $17 like a week ago. Someone bought one for $15, moderately played. Someone bought a damaged one. Like, people are buying this card, the super rare version, for like for obscene prices, in my opinion. It's a 2 of in one deck. I don't think that this is like by any means a card that should have this much value in it, but it is. And it also just got reprinted. So maybe it's a sign that if cards get reprinted, but there's still like a scarcity to the foil version of it, the foil version will retain a good percentage of its value. Something to think about for sure. Next card, Avenging Knight Parshath. The super rare is coming up on the secret rares price. That's how you know something is wrong, because nobody wants the max rarity version of this card. Nobody wants this card. There's no demand for this card at all. No one is buying the high aesthetic, little sparkly version. But the people who do need this card are like, I have to buy the cheaper version, and this is the only version that's available, which is like, you're looking at, what, $15 for a common or something? Yeah, $14, $15 for a common if you want a near mint one, which is disgusting. Just reprint this. I don't know. Next card, I own one of these, I think, or I might be borrowing it from Cameron. I don't fucking remember. Totem Dragon, I own a set of super first edition ones, which is, I'm pretty happy that they're still kind of up. It's kind of weird that they're like still like $20, but hey, I'll take it. Yeah, Avenging Knight Parshath, I have a common one. I don't know if it's mine or not. And then Junk Archer, next card, I own 0 of these. Please reprint it. I do not want to spend $25 on a Junk Archer to play Quick Draw. This is a card that comes up. It is a card that improves your deck. That is kind of necessary to play the deck, and it's just had 2 printing ever, and that's pretty much it. They're not like particularly cool. Doesn't really have modern playability. It doesn't really have nostalgia or anime application. Like, I think it was played in the anime. Maybe it has a little bit of anime application. Doesn't really have meta dominance. Again, we mentioned Drill Warrior. The ultimate rare Drill Warrior is only like $50, $60. So why is like this shitty printing of fucking Junk Archer worth like $25? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. Like, why am I spending $25 on a super rare reprint Junk Archer when the premium rarity of Drill Warrior is only slightly more than that? And this is a deck that doesn't like see that much play. Yeah, this is a card that I've just been playing without in my quick draw decks because I refuse to spend like $25 on it. I think that that's like a gross overestimation of the price. Next card on here is Magical Android. Oh my god, I had wanted a dual terminal one of these forever, and I finally bought one for $13. So I have a dual terminal one, and I have a super rare from the Duelist Genesis Unlimited. These are the 2 that I own, and I still would love to see this card get a reprint and tank, because this is way too expensive for a card that just goes in a bunch of decks. I had to buy a second one because Again, I'm building a deck with Spine Gilman, so I needed 2 copies of Magical Android. Yeah, fuck that. This card should not be worth that much. I own copies of this card, and it should not be worth that much. I would be very happy to see a reprint on this and just all of these tank. That would make me a happy camper. Also, it would increase accessibility to the format. Kind of annoying how much this card is worth. And then the last card for the reprint section is Blackwing Armor Master. I think this card's getting a reprint soon as a 25th anniversary. We will see how much that affects the prices. So that's something to keep in mind for future Market Watch videos like this. If you guys like Market Watch videos like this, by the way, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if this is something you're interested in, like, learning more about. If this is something that you give a shit about. I don't fucking know, man. It's just, I'm just, like, talking about, like, collecting and shit. This is something that, like, vaguely appeals to me, and I know it appeals to a large percentage of everyone who plays this game. So, yeah. And this is something we'll keep an eye out for, because this card is for sure getting a reprint. I want to see how much that reprint affects things. I want to see if this god-awful premium gold drops in price if we get that beautiful 25th anniversary and everyone starts offloading their shitty looking versions of this card. And then the last section that I want to get into for today's Market Watch is personal speculation. There's a couple of cards that I was looking at where I was like, okay, this card has a lot of potential as either an investment, or it has a lot of potential in the format, or it checks a lot of the boxes that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. I want to talk about some of my previous speculations first. The first one I want to talk about is Blackwing Kalut the Moonshadow, the super rare version from the Astro Pack. I had predicted that it would go up a lot, and it did. However, it is kind of plateauing around $18 to $19. And it looks like you can get near mint ones for around $14. So, despite it going up a huge amount all the way until March and April of this year, it has started to plateau around $15. It looks like you can get them for about $15. While supplies last, of course. There's only like so many listings for it. It's one of the more rare cards you can get. I do own 3 of these. I do think that this card is a card I'll own forever. I'll never sell my Kaluts, so I have nothing really to gain from them going up or down. But yeah, wait, did I mention how much of these other cards I own? Oh yeah, I own Armor Masters. I think I own the Duelist Pack Crow super rares, but I would love to see them get reprinted. And I would love to see the prices go down for that card. Same thing with Blackwing Kalut the Moonshadow. This is a cool card. I don't think it'll ever get reprinted. All right, it did just get reprinted, didn't it? Hold up. Kalut the Moonshadow. Maybe that's why the price stagnated as it got reprinted. I think it did. I'm fairly certain it just got reprinted, right? I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maze of Memories. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. That's got to be it. The Maze of Memories print. Yeah. I don't know. Before the Maze of Memories print, the card was kind of going up at an astronomical rate, and then it got reprinted. And so that's probably what stopped it. That makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, this is kind of showing you what a reprint can do to a price of something that is like steadily growing, steadily growing, steadily growing, steadily growing, and then a reprint happens, and then it just kind of stops. It's interesting how it worked for this, but some other cards I think receive reprints, and because the demand is so driven for that deck or for that card, even the higher rarities, like the foils of those cards, will continue to go up. So it's interesting to see when that does happen. And then another card that I had speculated on in the past was Future Fusion. This is, in my opinion, the most powerful spell card in Edison format entirely. It's iconic. It's really cool. It goes in a lot of the best decks. Lately, it's been going even in Quick Draw, which is one of the decks that has a lot of favorite appeal, but it also goes in Dragons, Hero decks. It's across the board. It goes in yesterday's Gemini deck. I own 1 copy of this card. I had predicted that people would buy these for, I can't remember exactly how much. I think it was like around $120 or something like that, $130. Maybe it was around the same price. Maybe it was around $130 to $145. There are still some listings. However, the lowest listings are not English, which I know collectors, they heavily prefer English. And there's only 1 listing that's under 190. So people did take my advice and pick up the Future Fusions. I think this card is insanely busted. I could see this card going into the Fortune 500 and being a $300 to $400 card in the near future. This card is just like a mainstay in Edison format. It will always be played as long as Edison format is around. It's just too powerful. It's just too insane. So I think this is one of those mainstays. It hits a lot of the boxes, right? Droughts, there's only the sick ultimate rare. It'll never be reprinted functionally, because if there's a reprint of it, it'll have the new text, which is cringe. So it'll never be functionally reprinted. Meta Dominance, it's in a ton of really, really, really popular decks. It has a ton of casual appeal. Casuals love fusion monsters. It's sparkly as fuck. It has nostalgia. It doesn't have modern or speed duel playability, but it does have intrinsic and extrinsic value in that it is a collectible. And it will win you tournaments, as it has won me a lot of tournaments. My Future Fusion that I bought has already paid for itself in the amount of tournaments that I have won with it. So, yeah, it definitely has extrinsic value. At least for me personally, it has. And public perception of the decks that play this card is generally good. I think people usually view Diva Hero as one of the more base decks. They view Dragons as like a cool deck. Sometimes people don't like Dragon decks just because it's, you know, they can hate Drago or hate how broken Future Fusion is in the deck. I could see that. But people really liked the Gemini deck yesterday, and there's only more Future Fusion decks to come. People love Quick Draw, so the public perception on decks that play this card is very high. I think it's just a slam dunk card with regards to Edison format, and so I'm not surprised to see it almost entirely gone since my last recommendation to check out the card, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it go up even more. I own one copy of this, so I do stand to earn a fair bit if this does go up. Okay, the next card I want to talk about is Reckless Greed. This is a card that recently has been getting some tops in Dragon Turbo and in Black Wings, which are both powerful decks in the format, but both have a lot of appeal to a lot of the more competitive players. This is the only foil printing, the Legendary Collection 3 Yugi's World. This is a card that I picked out, and I noticed that it was already almost gone. This is one of those cards that you can see someone else has had a similar idea. Batwalk Gaming. He's bought 14 of them, and he's listed them at $20 a piece with $5 shipping. I think that is a little bit too much. But if this card does win a tournament, that could definitely be the price of the only foil. It could be. I'm looking at comparing this to maybe something like... There's not really a great comparison. I want to compare it to... obviously Super Rare Dust Shoot because it's the same rarity, but Super Rare Dust Shoot's a champion pack card, and this is a legendary collection card, so it's very different in that aspect. I'm not sure if there's really a great point of comparison for this card, and also we've only started seeing success for it quite recently, so it's kind of hard to tell if that was just a gimmick or a fluke, or if this card actually has a lot of staying power in Edison. But it is something I'm going to be keeping my eye on, is the Super Rare Reckless Greed, because this could potentially be a card that is worth a shit fuck ton of money if someone figures out that Reckless Greed is actually insane in Edison format. Another card I'm looking at that I have personally purchased 3 copies of before uploading this video is the Ultra Rare Gear Town. This is the only rarity of Gear Town that is foil. I think that has some sort of appeal. It has a little sparkly appeal. People usually like Gear Town decks, and I think at 20 cents each, it's a pretty safe buy. Like, it's probably not going to ever be worth less than 20 cents. So I'm like, all right, I'll drop $1 and get a set. Not even $1 and get a set, like, as a speculation. It's a good card. I think Gear Town decks are solid. They're maybe not the highest potential deck, but they have a lot of OTK ability. They have a lot of, appeal to people who like to beat down and that sort of thing and like to play the machine decks. Gear Town's like one of the better machine strategies. It also plays in a lot of casual fan favorite decks like Karaz. So I feel like Gear Town is definitely a cool card to own. The only foil copy for 20 cents it's a fairly safe buy. I feel like this is a cool penny stock that I kind of want to keep my eye on moving forward. And then the last card I want to cover in this is the Super Rare Turbo Pack 4 Compulsory Evacuation Device. This card has just been going up literally since November. It's just been kind of going up. And that's these graphs. These graphs aren't entirely accurate, but if we check near mint, cheapest near mint is like 75. And people are low-key buying them. Like, someone bought a light played one for $62. Someone bought a light played one for $70. Someone bought 2 near mint ones for $75 each. Someone bought a light plate for $70. People are buying them. There's demand for this card. Someone bought 2 for $80 each, which is more than what they're listed for. People are buying them for $80 regularly over the last 3 months. This could potentially be a similar Deep Sea Diva situation where it's just, this is the highest rarity of the card. And so since this card is fantastic and it's the highest rarity, it will be worth a lot of money. I could see this being in the same ballpark as the Deep Sea Diva, maybe slightly less. I could see this potentially hitting $100 or like $120. I would not be surprised to see that. That being said, I do think, unlike Deep Sea Diva, well, not that being said, I guess that's kind of misleading. I think Compulsory Evacuation Device has a little bit of upside over Deep Sea Diva in that I don't think this card is getting reprinted anytime soon in a higher rarity. I think that this card does not have the modern appeal, modern playability, the modern sort of like demand that Deep Sea Diva could potentially have. So I feel like we could very potentially see like a collector's rare Deep Sea Diva way before we're seeing maybe a collector's rare Compulsory Evacuation Device. But I'm not sure. I mean, they've given collector's rares to Torrential Tribute and Rivalry of Warlords and Solemn Judgment and a lot of other like random staple cards. So it really is just kind of like random what they give collector's rare to, and not really necessarily whether or not a card has a shitload of modern demand or appeal or not. So I don't know. That's something to be kind of interested in. There's a couple copies here at $75, and then it immediately kind of skyrockets into the 125 range for this card. This is a card that I've been very impressed with. I've been playing it a lot lately. A lot of people have been having success at a tournament level with this card, playing upwards of even 3 copies in the main deck, just like totally trying to abuse the fact that Edison format has gotten faster and that a -1 doesn't really matter if you're buying the turn you need to win the game. So something to consider for sure. I don't know if you guys like this market watch video. I don't necessarily do this type of content that frequently, but if you would like me to do it more frequently, let me know in the comments below. Let me know if there's anything I forgot in the comments below. It was kind of a lot to compile all of this. It's a lot for me to go through and like look at all this stuff because, like I said, I don't really buy cards in bulk. I'm not really like super collector for the certain thing. I only like collecting cards that I like. I'm kind of like, you know, the Giga Chad collector where it's like, I bought this card because I think it looks good, not because like I actually think it'll go up or down or whatever. My actual like purchasing strength with regards to like buying cards is I would say I'm more of a casual buyer. Casual appeal is definitely something I have a good understanding of because I myself am a casual purchaser of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So the other stuff on this, let me know if I was missing anything that drives demand or whatever. Just let me know if you guys like the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.